Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. We are recording the special segment for the Shabbos table very late this Erev Shabbos, but I know a lot of people listen to it, and they'll listen to it even afterwards. They know that it's timely material that's not only related to Shabbos. I'm traveling and coming in from the mountains for an Offer back here in Lakewood. It was very hectic, so that's why we're recording late. This shir is made possible by a grant from the Rubin family for their wish to Hashem to be zeicher to a ben zachar and to have atzlach in ruchnius and gashmias. So let's get right to it. We know that Bilam Harasha prophesies Matuvo Alecha Yaakov Mishkanei Secha Yisrael, and we know that we start our davening Shachris with that. Of course, we started also with Kel Odain, and there's a famous story that someone showed the guy in a sefer for his Askama, and he saw in it that this Mechaber wrote that Shachris starts with Kel Odain, that Hashem is the boss, because the Gemara tells us that no one ever called Hashem Odain until Avram came and called him Odain, and since Shachris was made by Avram, therefore we start Shachris with Kel Odain, which was Avram's invention. And the guy said, just for this vart alone, it's kedai to print the sefer. But even before Kel Odain, we say Matuva Alech Yaakov Mishkanei Secha Yisrael. The Marshal famously said that you should not say that pasuk, because since it was said by Bilam, and Bilam said it to curse Klal Yisrael, even though it was converted to a blessing, so you shouldn't say it. And indeed, he only started from the second stanza of Ani B'roiv Chastcha Avoi Veisecha, and that's a really appropriate pasuk to start davening with. It reminds me of a story that many, many years ago, we're talking about maybe 47 years ago, there was a sting done on certain seifrim. It was found out that tragically they were making tefillin, puzzle tefillin, using glue instead of using gidin, instead of using sinews. And it turned out that there were many from a people who found out that they never wore kosher tefillin in their life. People were crying like babies. And I remember it was a Chanukah Masiba, and we asked Ramosha, why would Hashem do that to someone who wants to do mitzvah? And I remember Ramosha changed his speech by the Chanukah Masiba, and he talked about that when we do a mitzvah, we think it's just coming to us a big pat in the back, that we're big tzaddikim, while in reality, we should always be thanking Hashem for the privilege to do mitzvahs. And he says when we're lacking in that appreciation, then sometimes Hashem doesn't give us the mitzvah. It took me many years, maybe a quarter of a century, to realize that Ramosha was speaking from deep experience. There is a 7-year difference between Rav David Feinstein, Zech Tzadik Kodesh L'Brachas Chus Yogan Aleinu, and Yibad L'Chaim Tovim Rav Ruvain, because for 7 years there was no mikveh in Luban. Imagine a young man and woman living without a mikveh. How we have to appreciate that there are mikvahs. There are famous stories about children who remembered that when they were in the ghetto and there was secret minyanim, they weren't allowed to come to shul, that they shouldn't give away the existence of the clandestine minyanim, the pleasure of being able to come to shul. I mean, I remember during COVID, we didn't let children under 12 come to shul. Take it for granted that a child could come to shul. So that's what we say, Vani b'roiv chastecha, and I, with your great kindness, avoi veisecha. I don't live in the time of the Inquisition, where they had to go and shop for Morer Hanukkah time, because before Pesach the Inquisition was looking who's buying Morer. Right? We have the freedom to do what we want, and we don't have to worry about somebody coming and knocking at our doors and taking us, to the torture chamber of the Inquisition. So, in your great kindness, I come to your house. However, even though Marshal did not say Matoivu, but the Likutei Mariach brings down that his great Talmud, the Mata Moshe, says to say Matoivu. In the Siddur of Amram, the Siddur Arizal, it says Matoivu. The Dachem Moshe, whose Drama brings down from the Kolbai to say Matoivu. Indeed, it's the minig throughout Klal Yisrael now to say Matovu Alecha Yaakov. Now, the Nevuah of Bilam, of Matovu, was unique. Most of the Nevuah of Bilam came Mikoach HaTumah, and not Mikoach HaKedusha. The Rambam tells us that sometimes the consumption of blood gave a person powers from Tumah. But the Targum says that when Vayisa Bilam Esainav, Vayares Yisrael Sheikhin L'Shvata Vati Alav Ruach Elikim, and there was upon him a spirit of God. So the Targum there says that it was a nevuah from Hashem. That's the lashon of the Onkelos, Shu Kibul Ruach Nevuah Meis Hashem. So the Altam from Kelm said, why over here was he Zeicha to Ruach Mitzad Kedusha? So the ultimate Kelm says that we all know that Bilam had a Midah Ra Ma'od of an Ayin Ra. He saw bad. And here, Bilam, for the first time in his life, he was misgaber upon himself, and he saw good. He saw that Yisrael was Sheikhin L'Shvatav, and he saw that their doors were staggered, that they didn't open one to another, so that people shouldn't see in because it's tznius, and that people shouldn't give each other an ayin hara. So when he was misgaber on his midah, Hashem right away rewarded him with a ruach halikim. The Sefer Sos B'imratzecha brings down a terrific story. A really terrific story. The story was related from Rabbi Yaakov Shayesh, and one of the players in this story was a former Talmud of mine who Ibn Geshtigen the Rebbe, and who could be my Rebbe 10 times over now. But let's get to the story. We know in the terrible tragedy that happened on Lag BaOmer Meron, where many people died in the crowded situations. So one of the people that passed away was a young man by the name of Rav Menachem Zakbach. 8 years before he passed away, he took upon himself the Kabbalah, which we've talked about here in the Shir, about never benching except from a bencher. Shach was very big on that. Reb Chaim Ozer Gudzinski was very big on that, not to bench except from a bencher. And he was very makpid on this. If he was to wash, he didn't wash unless he knew ahead of time that he had a siddur or a bencher or a birchain, it's called in Eretz Yisrael, to wash from. During the Shiva, the father was talking about this Mesiras Nefesh that his son had. And one of the people that came to give Nechama, one of the Menachamim, was a Sefer, and he heard this Ibn Gamenkai, and he made up on his own that he's going to take that upon himself to never bench without a bencher. He was a cipher, and during COVID, he worked on a Sefer Torah. He finished it, and he showed it to someone who wanted to buy a Sefer Torah, and the person looked at it and he said, you have a very nice handwriting, but the completion of the letters could be nicer. He thought that the person was just trying to get a better price, and he gave it to him at a better price. Anyway, he decided to start writing a new Sefer Torah, and there was a special office where Seifrim went to write Sefer Torah. And he goes, and he was very hungry, so he bought himself a sandwich, and he came there, but before he washed, he realized he has to determine if there's a bencher. He made a Kabbalah. And he looked, and there in the office they had Chumashim and Tehillim and other things. Couldn't find the bencher, couldn't find the sitter. He looked, and then he found in one of the cupboards high up was a beautiful scroll with benching. And it seems to be that one of the Seifrim practiced and wrote such a bencher and left it there. And he benched from it, and then he realized that the ksav was very beautiful. It was a very beautiful ksav. And he studied it, and he wrote a sample Yeriya using all of the upgrades of the ksav that he saw on that bench. A short time later, one of his friends told him, and this is where my Talmud comes in. My Talmud, it's an arrogance to call him a Talmud. He wrote to stay Seifrim on Gans Shas, now on Yerushalmi and Mitzvah V'Ais and other brilliant works. Stay Bracha. He just learned by me for 2 years, many years ago. But he found out that Reb Shmuel David Friedman wanted to commission to write a Sefer Torah in memory of each of the 45 Kedoshim that passed away in Meron. The great people that passed away in Meron. So his friend told him, why don't you send that sample Uriah to him? Maybe he'll commission you to write one of the Sefer Torah. He sent it to him, and Shmuel David Friedman was very happy with the sample and gave him one of the Sefer Torah to write. So he asked him, so which person am I writing it for? And he told him, you're writing it for a man, a fine man, by the name of Rav Menachem Zakbach. So you see how it comes full circle? It's because of Rav Menachem Zakbach that he went to be Menachemim, and he took on the Kabbalah that Rav Menachem Zakbach demonstrated to always bench from a bencher, that he found this sample bencher in the room there and upgraded his writing. So everything is Mida Keneged Mida. But this is the side of the Alta from Kelem, that if you work on a Mida to be Meshaber, I bench by heart. No, I made a commitment that I'm not going to bench by heart. No, it's less than 2 months to Elul to think about the Kabbalahs we make. In the Parsha this week, it tells us that after the donkey talked and bested Bilam, so the donkey died. So Rashi tells us, the famous Rashi, it's a famous Rashi, that why did the donkey die? In order that people shouldn't point and say that's the donkey that bested Bilam. That's the donkey that put Bilam to shame. It's Kavod Abrius. And of course, everybody says from here that you see that you have to worry about the Kavod Abrius even of a Rasha Merusha. Here's a man who wanted to curse Hashem's holy nation. and still we're worried about his feelings. It's an amazing lesson of how you shouldn't say, that person, you don't have to worry about his feelings. You can never say that. I saw a story which I had heard this story in a different way. Both versions teach important lessons. The story goes that the Heilige Chabina Rav, went to a Ksiva Sefer Torah, and they asked him to write a letter. So he said he's not feeling so well, so the Sefer should write it. So afterwards, one of his Shamashim, or Talmidim, asked him, why didn't the Rav write the letter himself? It's a big mitzvah. So he said he saw in the crowd a Machal Shabbos. Now, according to the way that I saw this story in the Sas B'Im Rasecha, the way he records it, he says, I saw that there was a Machal Shabbos there, and he wouldn't know how to write the letter, and he would be embarrassed that he wouldn't be able to, so I didn't do it, so this way, I didn't do it, the Sefer did it for me, so he could do that too without getting embarrassed. This is even for Machal Shabbos. The Maisi is, I heard this story differently. The way I heard the story is he saw that there was a Machal Shabbos there. And if the Machal Shabbos wrote the letter, that would be a psul in the Sefer Torah. Therefore, if he let the Sefer write it for him, that way the Machal Shabbos will also let the Sefer write it. If the Chabina Rav could do it, he would also do it. And both versions of the story contain the important lessons. I will add that the Tanchuma says a different reason why the donkey of Bilam died. The Tanchuma says the reason why Bilam's donkey died is because if it would have survived, people would start worshiping it as an idol. Talking donkey. People would begin worshiping it as an idol. In order that that shouldn't happen, the donkey was died and buried and gotten rid of. It's interesting that one of the reasons why nobody knew where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried is because of the fear that they might turn it into a shrine, and people might go there and treat it as almost an avodah zarah. I saw brought down, this is the third week that I'm bringing down from Rav Vosner, from a different sefer of Rav Vosner's. This is from a sefer called Ezer Eliyahu. That Rav Vosner says, we know that the reason for the din of doing a pidyon of a chamar, what is this? Redeem the firstborn of a tummy-dick animal, and then if you don't redeem it with a sheep, you have to break its neck from the nape. What's going on? Why a chamar? So the Welt understands the reason, because it's a reward for the chamar that 70 donkeys were used by each person to carry out the rechush gadol that they took out of Mitzrayim. And since the chamar did that job for the 600,000 Yidden, therefore it was rewarded. But over here, Rav Vosner says a different reason. He says that the din of Pidyon Chamar was to remember the donkey that talked to Bilam, and to remember the nace, to remember the miracle. And if we don't redeem it, we break its neck, because it's brought down that Chamar died from Arifa, from breaking its neck. And therefore that also remembers the nace, remembers the great miracle. I wanted to let the item know that Be'ezus Hashem, this Monday night, I will be live in Be'ezus Hashem, with the help of Hashem, in the Boston the Shul in Flatbush at 9 o'clock for the Irgun Shirei Torah Q&A. So you're invited to join us there by the Irgun. It's for men and women, 9 p.m. this Monday night, right before the Tanis on Tuesday. Also, we want to invite you to join us for our Daf Yomi as we proceed in the second parak of Bava Basra. Motzei Shabbos, it's at 10:40. You go to zoomdaf.com and you put in meeting code 914408 Sunday night, and after the Tanis it's 5 to 9. Monday there's no shir because we did a double daf on Thursday night, because Monday night there's no shir because of the Ergun. Tuesday night because of the Tanis it's 10:15, and then afterwards it resumes 8:55. If you would like to sponsor the Chumashir and Pinchas, the main Chumashir, which is aired live on TorahAnytime.com Thursday night at 9. If you want to sponsor that share, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.